All right, let's establish quorum.
Okay, so I will take roll call.
Yeah.
Commissioner DeJulie.
Huh?
Chair Van Race.
Here.
Commissioner Heck.
Here.
Commissioner Liu.
Here.
Commissioner Whedon.
Here.
Let the record show that Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Ryan are absent. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. First will be public comments on items not on the agenda. We have one of those from Gary.
Good evening, I'm Gary Hedden, Los Altos resident. And I have 3 items to discuss with you tonight. We can't discuss, just a second. Greentown planted tree number 500 in December after 5 years. And then we celebrated an art day. We were actually planting trees until March. We ended up at 538. So then I turned my summer interns, I had 3 of them this summer, into creating sustainable urban landscape. And we came up with a concept that's not novel, but it's novel to Los Altos, which is to plant pollinator gardens. The things that will attract the songbirds and the butterflies that we all love, and other things. So we're going to do that. We launched it in November, just this month, on November 5th, through the newsletter. And I have 2 levels of support. One is Premier, where we come in with a plant list, talk to the homeowner, and then we will purchase the plants and the mulch and whatever is needed. And with high school students, we will plant the plants. And so this is something the Green Team at each of the high schools has been helping with that, and maybe some other groups. I did cap it at 10, because that's all the bandwidth I have and time I have this first year. And then there's the do-it-yourself approach. That was $250, which just almost covers the cost. Then there's the do-it-yourself approach, where we will purchase the plants and hand them over to the homeowner to plant and take care of them. And the first day we sold all 10 spots on the Premier service, the 250, and only one person signed up to do it yourself. We'll see where that goes. Anyway, with a team helping me, we came up with a plant list of things that we think will work and provide color all year, span the year, and then be appropriate for a small plot, which is only 100 square feet, is what I'm shooting for. That's a circle, by the way, that's only 11 feet diameter. And so I had a team there, people who know more about plants than I do, which is helpful. And one of them is the Greentown board member, Madurai Davidson. So she's helping with that. So we'll go out and start talking to homeowners in December and get things lined up and plant January through March. And anyway, that's what we're doing on pollinator gardens that you might be interested. We 2 other things. I took advantage of the $7,500 federal rebate, and that's expired right now in September, to lease an all-electric car. So and they're really fun to drive. They're zippy and quiet, so I'm loving it. I should have done it years ago. Anyway, it turns out though, to get the fast charging, I need to put in an upgrade panel, electrical panel, and then I can't have it located where it is now because it's right on top of the gas meter. PG&E doesn't allow that, so we had to move it 3 feet away. And then there's all the wiring and $7,000. So it's not inexpensive. Pretty much wiped out my savings on the lease, but that's okay. I want it. But I thought you'd be interested in knowing about the cost. And then the third thing is artificial turf. I know I'm not sure that's on your agenda anymore. It's on the city council's. But being very skeptical, I went out and measured all kinds of yards where they have artificial turf and compared it to yards that have normal grass, real grass. And it's always 40 degrees hotter on artificial turf. Now they claim they solved this problem. Be skeptical. I don't believe what they have claimed, quite frankly. Verify it somehow. Get us, go out there and double check. Have them tell you. Where is one of these installed? I want to take a look. I want to walk on it in my bare feet on a sunny day. Anyway, that's all I got for you tonight. I'm gonna hustle off and go home and watch it on, the TV. See you later.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right, that was the end of our public comments not on the agenda. Moving on to items for consideration, the meeting minutes from last meeting. Does anyone have any changes they wanted to see to those minutes?
No,
No,
I'll move for acceptance of the minutes.
yeah, I'll second.
All right, this sounds good, we have the review, so, we can take a vote by just show of hands, everyone move to approve the minutes. Okay, the minutes are approved, thank you.
Okay, great. And then we move on to our first discussion item, which is item number 2, shared mobility.
Oh, that's me.
Yes.
I apologize that I don't have a formal presentation or a whole lot more to update since the last couple of times. A lot of travel. But the, one thing to update on is that, our shared mobility friend, high school friend, Chloe Chang has been doing, a survey. And she's had help from a couple, other folks in the city. And their survey, they have about 400 plus responses so far. All in favor of having a shuttle service, a community shuttle service. The highest number of places people would go to were community center with 237, library and history museum, downtown, well, actually downtown is the highest, sorry, 296. And then community center, library, history museum. There were quite a few people who wanted to use it for high school, about 200, and then middle school about 140, and elementary school about 80. And then there was folks wanting to go to the Caltrain station, San Antonio and Mountain View, and Whole Foods, a couple other places. So there seems to be quite a bit of interest. I think once Chloe closes out the survey, we'll tabulate all the responses and see where people live, where they want to go, and present that data to the commission. So I haven't had to. Yeah,
So I have a
that's better.
question because Offset was not here before.
The commission.
You're the second person?
Yeah, that's about it, yeah. for now.
Okay, so clarifying question time. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
So I have a question because I was here before. When you did the survey, it was free service that we're talking about, or we're talking about in general service that could be free or for some toll or whatever?
So, double check if the word free was used. But assuming, I think it would assume that it would be free, being
Okay.
a community shuttle.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because you may have different answer about.
Different answer,
Yeah,
if it's
if
free
it's
or
free,
not.
you have to pay,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
is the reason why.
Yeah. yeah. So the push that, with shared mobility, we were talking about having the free, shuttle that, were partly, sponsored by the BTA and the city or whatever other brands that we could get, so.
Yeah, I have a question for everyone. Are you available for one-to-one so that I can catch up on some of the things you've been working on? Not now, but outside of this meeting in the next few weeks.
We can't discuss that now, but we can, chat about that and figure.
Okay.
I can give you an update, yeah, so you'll get the updates today on where everyone's at, but if everyone can just preface the projects with a little more background today.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So background on this one is that, a large part of the cap, and the carbon emissions from the city is due to transportation. So, that's not something that's entirely within our control as, even as a city, and then that's definitely as an environmental commission, there's the streets commission, there's, the city, public utilities, etc. that would control that, so what. And we've been behind in kind of focusing on that and done EV, some work on switching to EVs and EV charging network is part of the reach codes. So that part's there, but reducing the amount of, vehicular travel, is not something that we worked on. So this year, as an independent project that was working on looking at options for shared mobility and reducing, car travel. So shared mobility and then walking, ways to promote a walkable, walkable city. And it's just been research, talking to different cities, looking at local communities and finding out what other people are doing and what could be done here. And then once we have all that, we propose it, share it with council, as a recommendation, probably approved. And we'll see what, they pick it up.
And there was someone else in you or working with you?
So there was a high school student who was
Okay.
very interested in making this happen. She has to take 2 or 3 buses when her mom can't drop her places, so, she was, she came to several of our meetings to talk about it, and then I guided her a little bit, kind of like as a community liaison. And she's done together a little, online survey, which she's been, at the farmer's market and then put up flyers at different places and having people to respond to that. So she's got a few responses already.
Okay, thanks, thank you very much.
And that's the background. Any other questions?
I think this is a question. We got a public comment regarding the shared mobility idea of basically subsidizing ETA service. Did you have a chance to review that?
I did review that, yeah.
And what is the position of currently that I guess you have, or you have, compared to the shuttle service?
So the VTA as we looked at is good, but it only covers select areas. And the reason for, and the examples are close to this, I know someone wants to go from Rancho to the community center, they have to take 3 buses and I'll take them to some, not simple amount of time. So to get to places, so that would be great. It'd be great to get, more people riding the buses that are there already. Because a lot of students come from across Hillsview, Mountain View and Palo Alto to the high schools and elementary schools. But I think this would be needed in addition to that, just because our service is very limited. That's not the.
Other questions?
I think it's more like a discussion.
There's still a question, Liz. Okay, we move on to the public agenda on this item then. Will we do the discussion?
The comment?
Yeah. Andrea? Oh, she's not here? Okay. Oh, hi. Yep.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm here this evening to speak to the 2026 Environmental Commission work plan.
That's item number 3, so
I thought it was 2.
it's 3 on here.
Oh, it was 2 on the website.
Oh. Is it 3 on?
It's 3.
It's 3.
Oh, it's 3.
You're good. We'll get that soon.
Oh, just hang out?
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. In that case, discussion.
I don't have any discussion. Keep going.
Yeah, I guess that's
Thank you.
keep it up.
More of a project.
Yeah, it was more a comment. I think that obviously with this car or the big buses that would not need a driver, that would be definitely more affordable and possible. It's kind of a long shot, but not too long shot. So I think that we should maybe consider a little bit that as a case, and then as the thing will be available, that it will be definitely much easier for the city to do something, because the cost of doing something like that is something definitely different. Yeah. It's not for tomorrow, but for sure it will come.
So do we know how many survey have you sent out and what other person responding rate?
This is just scan the QR code and take the survey, so it's not
Okay.
So it's whoever sees it.
Mm.
So how many? have
There's not
responded?
gone out to any list because it's not a city sponsored survey,
No.
so.
And do you think you'll bring this back in January to like discuss with the commission and
Yes.
give the results and then we'll come up, the commission will come up with like recommendations to council?
I'll be saying that for a couple minutes.
I have things I could say about, essentially trying to take on both, but if, you're focused on the shuttle, in terms of the shuttle and the, possibility of BTA, subs.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Seems like, here's the costs that were mentioned are in the letter
Yeah.
are correct, then it seems like a no-brainer to offer it to all the students. Teachers.
I can just say, I took a community college course and I was able to get that service through that for a semester, and then it's just lasting the whole year, and yeah, to me, it changes how you behave, because you go, oh, I can go anywhere.
Just hop
You,
on.
you view the city differently.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You view the area. Okay.
Yeah, what you're talking about here is not clear to me that I understand your question, is that?
Well, it's just a matter of focus, I'm focused on this shuttle service.
Yeah.
And then we got public comment about, BTA subsidies, which they're both considered shared mobility.
Okay, so they
So,
are,
yeah.
you're talking about subsidy, and so
Yeah.
with the city, then, is with a possibility that the city will fund some of this, that's the part of the proposal,
Yeah, well, the public comment we got was regarding, high school students,
okay, yeah,
helping them.
So it was specifically that, the schools provide, or I don't know who pays for it, bus passes for students who demonstrate need.
Yeah.
And that costs a certain amount. But if a nonprofit were to, sponsor bus passes for all the students, it would cost significantly less per student.
Mhm,
And then that, as Carl says, changes the mindset. So if I have a bus pass,
mhm.
then chances of me just taking the bus.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be
are
high,
much
that's for
higher,
sure.
so
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
seems like a good.
Sorry, I have to ask this question
No,
because I don't understand.
All right. Sounds like we can close out this item. Move on to, the work plan. Which we have the spreadsheet of and within the packet.
Mhm.
I'll just take this moment to say, yes, well, welcome our new member info.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
should have done it at the beginning. All right. So this follows the format of last year's and, might have to zoom.
We can only zoom sections at a time, so.
Yeah, that's fine, that's what we're.
Alright, so, structurally, this is very similar to, last year's, and we have, most of the same categories. As we discussed at this last meeting, when we, talked about priorities, and, so Angela, for your benefit, we're hoping to lock down what we agree on as the priorities this meeting,
Uh-huh.
so that when we meet with council, we can say, this is what we plan to do, and get their approval.
So in January, there's a joint commission meeting with city council,
Okay,
and that's when the commission presents their work plan items for the
Mhm.
following year.
okay,
So, we have building electrification, and here we have it split as, two projects. One being community engagement incentive programs, which is something that has already been, we've been actively working on. You see status section, we mentioned that we had advised on, residential rebate program already, but there's still more that can be done regarding, the, consumer rebates and the future, that can be provided on that. And then policy guidance, is a general priority, for this item, and so it's left open at the moment, but yeah, if we pursue it, it is a heavy, workload item. Workload being a column that we have further.
Mhm.
Can't see from
Yeah, I
the-
saw that it's heavy. I read the work plan, I know that it's been considered heavy work.
Moving on to.
Yeah. Okay, so
Green community and climate risk, we have the RFP for, plan. Or getting the analysis that could lead to a plan, there. Well, yeah, these aren't labeled on here, but anyway, so the idea is that likely, the working pair would support in that in whatever capacity is needed for, who is selected for that. And then make a report based on those findings. If we were to get those findings before the end of the year, make a recommendation on that. Hope I'm not going too fast. So then the next item, is one that, we have not discussed, if I recall correctly, but we got direction since our last meeting from council, to, and yeah, I believe this was with Director, analyze and develop recommendations regarding an artificial turf policy or ordinance. So this is, from, the mayor in reaction to their vote on Hillview Dog Park to put that back into the design phase after, backlash regarding planning to move forward with synthetic or artificial turf. So based on the fact that that has council direction already, that is, yeah, pretty high, priority for us that we had not discussed last.
yeah, but just a question here, is about,
We save it for, I'm almost done.
okay,
Yeah,
and so at the end, there will be.
then we'll
Okay.
clarify questions, yeah. So the next item, we touched on briefly, and, I spoke with the vice chair as well about this, and still feel good about having a group look into researching environmental integration successes in other cities, to see how we can operationalize sustainability within Los Altos so that it is not dependent on coming from us. It is a core value, that, you know, we can see reflected in all operations. So, seems within our general goal of advising, this feels like an appropriate, project to take on this year. And then the last two here, we had hunted this last year after a vote, to review the CAP priorities. Ideally, we would have done this before this, but then we're starting this 2026. And just, yeah, propose, what do we think what should we change in terms of the dates that are set for when stuff should be completed, considering some of those have expired or will expire soon? And what has any priority shifted in terms of what was decided on, in that version? Mostly, I see it as when it comes time to renew the CAP, now there's notes on what the commission already thinks about how it could be revised. That's one of the major values of going and doing it, not necessarily that we are going to this year take on the task of renewing the whole thing, but just to get the discussion going. And then finally, just continued outreach through the what's now the Living Electric Fair. I can say that that group has met since we last met, and is hoping to move forward again for the next year. So good, yeah. That's not good for there. So with that, are there any clarifying questions?
No, my question was, because but in the past, I made a couple of comments at the city council about permeable and permeable surface. I think that there's an opportunity here in the city definitely to reduce the impermeable surface. that is part of the mitigation, as you know, of climate change. To me, like, I live in, Southwest Alto, that is, highland. And there are some cul-de-sac that is unbelievable, they are huge. And there's no reason why there's so much asphalt, that, if there's no traffic, small cul-de-sacs serve 5 houses. And, there's a lot of asphalt, I think there's an opportunity in the future. Like, reducing the amount of asphalt and planting those areas. That has the benefits of cooling the temperature, having more water going to the ground. And also, obviously, it's also safer because, of roads that are not so wide, if there's no traffic, are safer than huge, big, road. That basically, I think, encourage people to go fast. And that's, absolutely one thing that is part of this, it's not only artificial turf, I think it's a big item that we can definitely try to discuss here in the environmental commission.
Does that improve slope? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so for the planting consideration, we may need to consider.
Okay, say this for-
Okay.
We'll save this for discussion. I think your question,
The question is, I think, can we add
Yeah.
permeable surfaces to
To the-
our plan?
yeah,
And
which-
we can come back and discuss that
right,
when I think we're gonna need to go through this one by one,
yeah,
so we can definitely, yeah, table that for the discussion.
yeah. Okay. Any other clarifying questions? No, okay. Then, we have 2 public comments. 3 public comments. Which did I receive first? I believe Andrea was first.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, good evening again. I'm here to speak to the 2026 Environmental Commission Work Plan, specifically the section that talks about artificial turf. Under green community and climate risk, listed on the second row in this section. It's listed as priority 1, but under expected completion date, it says to be determined. This is not even a mention, there's not even a mention of when this item will be addressed by the Environmental Commission, nor when the process is. I have 4 specific requests for your consideration. Number 1, address this topic as a high priority with specific target dates. 2, use the terminology of synthetic turf instead of simply artificial turf. This more inclusive term can be defined to cover all petrochemical-based surfaces, including poured-in-place rubber and rubber tiles. 3, until a formal policy is proposed and adapted, please recommend a moratorium on the installation of all synthetic surfaces in city properties. Since these issues can take years to be finalized, a moratorium such as was put in place by the city of Millbrae until they finalized their ban would be a great start. Consider a citywide policy that includes city-owned properties and parks, residential and commercial use. I and other concerned citizens will be pleased to provide the working committee with scientific research and municipal practices and trends that it can assist the process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have A.V. Hazer.
Hi, I'm a resident of Los Altos Hills, and I'm here to offer a proposal that the committee take up the idea of getting people to eat more plant-based foods as part of your sustainability goals. I know that you all know that is the single biggest step any individual can take. A third of greenhouse gases come from eating animals, agriculture. And I think that the town of Los Altos would benefit greatly from trying to encourage restaurants to shift their menus to a more plant-friendly variety of foods. I have many ideas of how to go about achieving this. it's not easy, but I do believe we're at the point where education is not enough. Everybody knows the facts about plant-based eating, but hardly anybody really goes to the nth degree to choose plant-based food because it's hard. And when we go to a restaurant, we have habits and we like to keep up with our habits unless we're offered something wonderful that's different. I've got lots of consultants I can connect with. I have lots of friends I can connect with in order to help with such an idea. And there are lots of organizations such as the Plant-Based Treaty, which asks cities and individuals, organizations to sign on to get closer to the Paris Agreement in terms of the goals set. Schools could help with measuring the consumption-based greenhouse gas emissions before and after such a project. And just for a quick way of getting a little bit of my background, I've been a plant-based entrepreneur. I've been on lots of environmental boards, and I'd be so happy to volunteer to spearhead something like this, but it would take some kind of a budget from the council ultimately to hire consultants and really do market research, and then to roll out a program that would probably happen over, I'm guessing, a 2-year period. Yes, any thoughts or questions that you want me to address, or does that not happen? I don't know, how does?
Yeah,
it
that's
work?
not in the
not in the
procedure, but
Okay.
but
That's
thank you for your
totally
comment.
fine. Very well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, thank you.
I don't know if I should leave the thing that I just said here with anybody, or?
Take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. And then finally, Beth.
Hi, nice to see you. Catherine Moons, resident, also a writer, and I work on a lot of preservation boards in the region. And they seem to go around about trees. So I'm here to talk to you today about core environmental benefits of trees and how they might be integrated into the existing work plan, as well as to an idea that I might propose about how we pull that together into a new objective, because it seems that all the core focus areas could involve trees. So, you know, we all know, you guys are smart, you guys could probably recite this, but the trees bring to our town economic value and livability in our neighborhoods, but what they really do is they conserve and reduce energy use, and they should be looked at in their energy level because they are measurable. Each tree that you plant can give you up to $100 for each tree that's out there per year, and more if we're talking the carbon sequestration. And they also prevent heat island formation, like you were talking about, and they maintain cooling temperatures, particularly when planted in groves. And so many people are getting now state funding for schools, institutions, parking plazas, and the like to plant grove trees because it reduces the temperature significantly and significantly reduces energy consumption because they don't have to run air conditioning. It also mitigates storm water runoff. You said that with maintenance. With maintenance, increases the benefits, and we're seeing more and more articles and studies about people keeping their trees on sidewalks and those sorts of things, and working around that because the tree provides such a benefit to make sure that the water flows, and we really do we're able to capture stormwater runoff. So there's ways that we can look at this and integrate it within each of those sectors of energy. The current focus is on electrification and gas use reduction. With trees, we could incorporate conservation and energy saving benefits, add tree incentives, public education, and expert partnerships such as with iTree and Canopy to educate and promote planting, maintaining, and keeping trees on the property. Also, from a green community and climate risk, I love the fact you guys are so good.
you put in, that your urban forest plan is now an urban forest and ecosystem master plan. I couldn't agree more. I'd love to see that if we went beyond fire safety and we looked at other things on how we integrate trees into that. Are we measuring temperatures? Especially maybe downtown in Canopy Grove. We know it's 3 to 5 degrees cooler because of the canopy there. And so that's sort of like a measurement sort of things. And I think that in the way we talk about things too, is figuring out a way to help the city to talk about things to distinguish between street trees, residential and park trees. Because street trees have certain characteristics, but when they're in a park setting, you can do different things, or in a residential setting, and distinguish park area planting in groves, and expand from calling things permeable surfaces or landscapes into energy scapes or treescapes, and treating trees as planned and monitored environmental infrastructure. So if you don't want to go, I'm sorry, I know the time is up, but I'm going to just give you one idea here. I've given you a piece of paper. I got home from work today and thought, well, I'm going to write this all out. But there's another way to do this. And that is if we establish a pro Los Altos Good for You tree initiative, including an assessment, resident partner commission working group, and implementation plan. Collaborate with community partners and residents to position Los Altos to become Tree City. And there's even a thing called Tree City USA. And here's what it does. The components include a tree review board, I got you, and an arborist. You want to ask me the question? Would you like to know more? Educational partnerships, a tree ordinance, a tree care ordinance, not just a preservation ordinance. Budget support for tree maintenance, celebrating trees in our communities. And I think you guys are the right place to start. And I hope you'll consider that. If you'd like to see my notes, I don't usually hand them out because I'm a writer, but I'm happy to give you notes if you wanted to think them through. Thanks a lot.
Thank
I tried to keep it short as I could. Shy of a study session. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I took that to you, and there's extra copies there if you want to talk about it. And sorry if there's typos, like I said, I got it off from work and spewed it. Thank you very much.
Now, time for discussion. Which,
So I have a few comments.
sure.
Can I go, should I go through them all, or should I go point by point? And then I'll go through them all, just stop me if you want to go to the
That
next.
makes fun.
So on electrification, we have a very broad topic without any policy guidelines and ordinances. I think that's actually a good spot, but I don't know if that's okay for the council. So that's, I guess that's your call. But you were talking about to make that call, how you want to either blow that out a little bit with some more definitive work items, or leave it vague. But we know we're gonna have to do it, or I think we will. That's that point on,
We can talk about that first before we move.
yeah, we can discuss
That's
it.
fine. I'm curious from your perspective, if we were to be able to focus right now, how would you want to frame it, or what is there a particular avenue you think is worth?
That's a hard question. That is the question. I don't have a complete answer. And I can tell you later in our update, the FAR bonus is kind of getting delayed. So that'll clearly carry on,
Yeah.
or maybe it won't, depending what the next steps are. And that's a policy. But I certainly think there will be policies the city should consider and implement. Because if you think about it, the city, a lot of the things, like you were talking about transportation, the city can't control everything with transportation. It's hard, but with houses and electrification, the city does have tools where it can implement policies that will impact that pretty significantly. And so if the FAR bonus is a no-go for whatever reason, we should come up with other options for the city to consider. But I don't have them off the top of my head. But it is something the city, we know we're behind on the cap. Electrification is one of the biggest reasons where the city can have a direct impact, and so we should continue to push that. Quick thought. let's say.
We're in a
I think
weird position with that where Vice Chair Nee is in the working pair with you, but I can't talk about that with him, so. Unless,
Oh.
I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Well, and if you want, I can spend a little more time thinking about it and send you some bullets, that you might wanna roll into the,
Yeah.
send you the timer. So I'll do that. And I can talk to me about that and, Commissioner or Vice Chair Me and get
Yeah,
back to you.
us three can also meet to kind of look at the cap as well, see what. I think it would be good to focus maybe on energy conservation measures for this upcoming year.
Is that based on feedback from the council or what?
That's just not like,
Your
from
personal-
what from what we've been working on and, kind of something we haven't touched, but I think it's good for us to meet and kind of assess the
Okay.
direction we're going in. Like, I think policy of right now, we just passed the reach codes, so we have to kind of think about that a little more.
Okay, so I'll commit that Coleman, and Tanya will meet and we'll try to get you some additional feedback on that point. And when are you trying to have this wrapped up, like mid-December type thing?
Well,
Yes.
we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but, we will have to set the agenda fairly early, so, to get on the January agenda, so.
I guess will we meet before you go?
If you meet in November, you're good.
No, okay, that's what I mean, but the
Yeah, we
commission
can
will
meet in
not meet.
December too.
What? We don't meet anymore,
Oh, like
the commission,
yeah, I'll be meeting with.
okay. So you want our feedback by November?
End of November would really help.
Okay, no problem.
For establishing the agenda, yeah.
Perfect.
early
I think it's a
December.
good conversation.
Wow.
Just moving through here, don't want to take too much time. And so on the. Oh, by the way, on the turf, I think we should put that as a priority and try to short track that. If the commission has asked for it or the council has asked for it, and there's an impending decision, then that dog park has been on the books for like 5 years. And it's just getting delayed, so we should, I think that's not a long work item, I think, you get the facts, you lay them out, and send them to the council, and so hopefully that's a quick one. I mean, I would even argue you could set the working pair tonight and try to get it knocked out by January. I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
So I'll just touch on that now, because the direction on that is that we're going to wait until Sunnyvale comes out with their study, since they're already moving forward with that and paying the consultants to do the study, and so we're gonna work off of that study.
Got it, and do we know what the timing of that is?
I think they're at least 6 months out.
So the dog park is on hold indefinitely. Okay,
And that-
But there's only
that-
one really that to be, the other one is not. I
oh, no,
think,
one dog park,
Yeah.
No, no,
only
I know,
one dog park.
I know.
I think the other one is already done, so.
Okay.
Give us, what
The
I'm trying
orange-
to say is that if they want to use dog park, they can use the one.
no, I know,
Okay, the origin of that, direction to wait for the Sunnyvale study, that came from city council or came from city staff?
I'm not sure, but that's the direction. that I've
Oh,
been given.
Mysterious, okay.
Mm,
But we can regardless move
I
forward
think
and
that's the
do,
direction that was given to council as well.
yeah, actually, so I think you're right, so we could make it urgent regardless of the Sunnyvale.
right,
We could certainly give an interim report and say, here's our initial thinking. Wait, there is a Sunnyvale report coming that'll be more holistic and more, but I mean, again, I think this is not rocket science. I think the facts are out there about what the benefit, the pros and cons are of all this stuff. I think it's been studied for forever.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of doing some research and putting it down and presenting.
Well,
Sorry, I'm just wondering, should we be talking more about one item and then everybody go?
That's,
around
I
and
was
easier
just
that
going through
way
my
instead of-
litany of concerns.
So that way, running one by one and everybody chime in, because,
yeah,
or maybe.
I was
Jump in on
thinking,
each
well, I
one.
was just figuring because Tom was going from top to bottom already, so. If you want to,
are there any comments, I guess, on?
yeah, are there any
the
comments
on what
Did you have comments on that earlier, right?
energy?
So on energy, I agree with Tanya that there should be some, we haven't really focused on that, some, reduce energy use, piece of it, so we've done a lot of, conversion.
Mhm.
So saving energy is something that I think there should be something that we work on, whether it's just maybe a single commissioner doing some research on it, or maybe there's something that we put to go after some of this stuff. We just haven't done any of that, focused all on electrification. At the end of the day, reduce energy use,
Mhm.
ways that we can. And I have comments on the second one as well, but we can go around and talk about this
Yeah,
one.
were there any other comments on the electrification? Bucket
I'm
energy?
more like, want to ask, Tanya, you guys have all the data about how many people have applied for electrification. Not just the new bill, but I mean, it's the existing home that when they upgrade, like heat pump or HVAC or solar panel, need, right? So I think it would be good because SVCE has been sponsoring all this rebate all the way through this year. In addition to SVCE, there's this tech power because I myself, my home, I put in a heat pump early this year. And I think it would be good that we have data from our city just for 2025, given the current incentive, how well are we in terms of adopting the conversion. I mean, we've been talking about we need a third party people helping people to go rebate, but today, if I need it because I want to take advantage, I just go ahead and work with the SVCE. It really doesn't take me that much time. I feel like we talk about a lot in the past, go to the third party so consumer doesn't have to do much work. But we may miss out the opportunity you could have saved. And I think it would be good that we have some data to support how we're doing right now. We can compare versus 2024. Yeah, it's just nice.
Yeah, let's see. Comments, I think, so for HVAC, heat pump replacements, we are there for every like standalone permit. For all the standalone permits, we are getting more heat pump, replacements for gas, so the trend is increasing there. I guess the question that I have that the commission could provide advising on to council or staff on is what is the limit on that? Where do we, at what point do we say this is enough or we continue, or I guess I'm trying to get at is it, how can we wrap that up and kind of discuss that with council or saying that we need to do more?
Electrification?
Yeah,
Well,
because we're seeing an increase and.
yeah, so we're seeing an increase, but we're still way behind on the cap, way behind. And again, I think with the expiration of the federal incentives, we're gonna see a much bigger gap. We're doing all right, but we're not doing great, and we're behind the cap. So I don't think we're ever behind. I don't think we are, at least I'm kind of a bias on this, but I think electrification, you don't stop until you hit the cap goals, which are 100% electrification.
I fully agree with you. Also, we are really at the beginning, and these adoption usually is like that, and then it goes up. We are kind of this side. It's just not the time for us to say, well, slow down. It's really the time for us to double in the effort, because then that it becomes pretty normal standard practice that people will replace gas with it. But we are not there yet. And we are at this critical point in which we need to double our effort to make this happen. I think it's going to happen because technology is much better than gas. It's going to get better, but it's not the time to me to somehow say, well, that's enough, or we can slow down on that.
That's what I think the question to be is sort of like, as a hypothetical, if 95% of appliances in Los Altos were electric, are we saying that is, do we think that that's reached the saturation that it's not worth
Yeah,
That's right.
we can put that down if we have to put down a number, maybe.
Yeah, that's
95%,
fine,
right?
right, we can put
Yeah.
1995.
But, I mean, I'm not, like, I guess that question kind of surprises me, because if that's what the council is saying, the council has raised a number of times. That they're behind on the cap, and what are they gonna do, right? And they're behind the cap because we've implemented virtually nothing to accelerate electrification.
And I'm not speaking for the council.
No,
I'm just saying, I think it's important to reiterate these things continuously
Yeah.
and maybe quantifying it, during the joint meeting or having like a number or, again, when we're saying we're not meeting the cap goals, I'm not sure anyone really knows what that means. So is there a data point you're referring to that we can, and I'm just asking these questions so that we can,
no, and it's a very good question, because I think, and now I'm
I know
kind of
the
jumping
answers.
down the list, is, we have two cap potential work items. I kind of think they should be combined. Just, my own point is like, we should review the cap, put down the obvious, gaps. I mean, some of them are not obvious because we don't have, great data, but we know there's some gaps. Like, we know we're behind on electrification, we know and we could at least do a red, yellow, green, right? Kind of, report card, and then highlight. I think a lot of this stuff isn't in my mind, the cap was passed by the council. It is staff's responsibility to implement it. And my interpretation is staff has no buy-in on the cap. And that's just based on discussions on electrification, or I should say limited impact, or limited buy-in on the cap. And so I think it's important that if we want, one of the ways to, I think, highlight for the council where we're missing and why some of these things we're suggesting are important, is to highlight how far off we are on the cap.
Yeah, I agree.
And that should maybe be your opening, salvo into your presentation group.
So-
Might get controversial.
But without data, that'd be really hard to do, and I feel that it's not entirely fair to make that statement. Maybe that's a discussion we go separate from this, that the staff is not bought into it. I think there is things that they're trying to, there's just budget, all the other priorities, et cetera. I get it, right? We would wish that it would be automatic, but it takes time for all of that to happen. But coming back to this, the energy item, and I agree that electrification, we should not let up on it. So I think there is two things to it. One is any new replacement that comes automatically, that should at some point become 100% electric. We should make it, the city should make it such that it's so much easier, so much more beneficial. There is whatever incentive to do, if you're replacing an appliance, to replace it with electric. So you really would have to want gas to, and want to be paid for it, whatever, to put in a gas appliance. So that's one thing. The other thing would be, and that's in the cap as well, how do we encourage people to replace their appliances that are not broken? Right, so I mean, if it's not functioning towards the end of life, which you don't want people to just go and replace something that's relatively new, but how do you get people to voluntarily go in and replace their system, before it's broken? So that's the other thing we need to go through. So there's a long way to go, is what I'm saying.
which is what the reach code's doing.
Yeah.
With your first point, that's what the new reach codes are doing. When there's a replacement,
Yeah.
it's require a heat pump or,
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
Yeah,
say
so
gas.
yeah, so it can be 95% of replacements, or it needs to be 100% at some point, right?
Mhm.
But then we have to go after the ones that are not being replaced, that are still there.
Yeah. I have a comment on that. So we're having 75,000 budget for consumer rebate.
Mhm.
Do you know how much household that translates to? For example, I'm just taking,
Mhm.
if you get an SDCE rebate or heat pump, you get $3,500.
Mhm.
So this is nothing.
Mhm.
This is serve 75,000 divided by 3,500, 20 household maybe. It's not enough. I mean, we shouldn't, how do I say, it? Yeah, you say it's behind. The thing is, the reality is that, I think SBCE rebate funding, as long as that funding is there. You know, and then we have, I would say most of the people, they would kind of look at the lifespan of the appliances when they're about to, and they will start replacing it, right? They wouldn't want to wait for. But there's still some percentage of people, they very resist. Okay, they do not want that. So we have reached code to mandate that now. And I feel if we really want to push for a better, say, better adoption than this year, because, you know, I think in addition to the funding from SBCE, and do we expect that's going to continue for the next 3 years? You know, I think the current administration, they're not going to help in that regard. And so what, you know, I think this kind of budget is kind of small because it's expensive, right? Heat pump is expensive.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
So so the 75K, yes, I would like it to be a lot more. I think we can hopefully use that to get more funding in the future. Once we assess the
That's like
program.
the first work plan item, is
Yes.
to evaluate how does that work, and should we suggest more? So I
So
think that's covered.
it's the baby step. And I think there's a point though, is I've been working here for 3 years, and I'm really not sure what is the reason people don't want to electrify, or what is the barrier in Los Altos, I guess, because we haven't done any surveys, or I don't have that information, so I think it'd be helpful to understand the why. Is it monetary? Is it just people want gas? Like, I think it's a mix of things, obviously.
It's also experience, I think.
Yeah.
I'm building an ADU, and just talking to people, they say it's a lot easier because that's what they're used to, is putting a gas system. They say, okay, no, it's 100% electric. Then they start thinking about it, because the automatic, since, you know, out of habit is gas.
Mhm.
So it takes time, I think, what we're doing with the you know, the electric there and all that stuff. It, as you were saying, it'll get out there, but we have to keep pushing. We don't want it to fail.
Because in reality, it's easier with electric solution than the gas solution. The point is that it's not the experience, it's not what the people are used to. But when they're gonna get to the point where, well, this is much easier, then, and also without talking about the other advantages, cost or well-being advantages, because they work much better with cooling and heating, it would be a no-brainer, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet from a consumer perspective, we're not there yet from the installer perspective, because they used to do this kind of stuff, they're comfortable, and they're still kind of, so. And about it is about the cap. You were saying exactly, I think the staff are there to implement the cap, but I think one of the role of this team is to keep the cap up to date. Because they change, and I think that we should really say change, because we're not hitting the goal, but also change because of new technology, new fact coming in. And then I think it's our role really to make this cap always valuable and viable document, so that the council and ourselves and the citizen can look at it that really makes sense. Because right now, because we are so behind, you see that it's not working. I mean, we need to do something there. So it could be one role that we have is really to keep this as much as possible.
Thankfully, we have
Working.
2 items technically that address that on here right now. So
That's-
Yeah.
To my point earlier about adding something on conservation, I think we should consider something around 2.1B, which is increased residential and commercial energy efficiency,
Mhm.
to add to our list, you know, within energy.
Right.
And this is learning that I've had while living, again, anecdotally building the ADU. That simple thing as windows, when I just go get a standard quote for windows, there's a certain U factor. But if I ask for a better U factor, you can get more energy efficient window just by asking for it, and turn out to be cheaper. But that was not what people usually do, so they just go this. So things like that, you know, we kind of push it, bring more awareness.
And we were
that's
doing
a-
the education series with the reach codes. The ADU design, default design is all electric, that's free to the city. There's been some permit monetization.
I don't think that that's all electric. I looked at those.
Is it- oh, it's open to-
What is,
No.
sorry?
It's, they don't specify whether or not they're gas or electric in the ADU. And so then it's up
It
to,
used to
it's
be
up
all-
to, it's up to the building code requirements then govern the building of the ADU. And so an ADU can be put in with a gas water heater, it can be put in, with a wood burning stove for that matter. I think.
Not now.
Options, but anyhow, I think the point here, I think we're getting a little too far down in the weeds. What we're really talking about is the second item here, and whether or not the breadth of the initial discussion is adequate that would satisfy the council's objective to go ahead with it. What I would suggest, and this I would put to Carl and Tanya, is to look at that breadth and come to a decision. Do we need more detail? And if the answer is yes, we need more detail, then I agree going through the cap list and saying, okay, let's focus, the focus of this could be conservation. But I think that there's other things in the cap that you could say it could be conservation, it could be B or C. And then it could be a combination of them or one of them to fit the amount of effort that you have. Because what I think of, I don't think necessarily of conservation, if we want to push the needle on conversion, one thing that was in the cap was, does the city have the ability, you know, in your energy bill, the city has a tax on the energy bill. It's the exact same on electricity as it is on gas. Is that by law? Can the city say, well, we're gonna put a 6% tax on gas, but only a 3% tax on electricity use? And I don't know if that's possible or not, but there's things like that in the cap that can be potentially, because you smile at this, but this is a policy and guidelines. That's what we're talking about.
I'm just smiling because I mean,
You looked into that?
no, I think we've talked about it before.
But
was
I
just
think that
thinking
it's
that
by
would be great.
law, you cannot do it. I'm pretty sure about that.
No, I don't know.
If
but
there is an actual action, we would.
But it's worth an investigation. If it's the law, okay, it's a non-starter. Yeah, you can't do it. But there's, my whole point is conservation is one, this was another, and you list a
Right,
couple and then
Mhm.
select one or of them out of it.
And I also think the council's very much more about carrots than sticks. So
Well, all ordinances and regulations are sticks, unfortunately.
The thing is that differentiating gas versus electricity would may be difficult. With the federal government, so they have.
Yeah, it may be. but
Probably shouldn't
My
do that.
point was, is there's other things that they can.
I just want to give a snapshot. So for 2024 HVAC, out of 230-ish permits, 96 of them were gas related, AC, combo, furnace, and then 133 of them were heat pumps. So that's just a snapshot in 2024. So
This for ADU,
standalone
standalone.
HVAC, or we call them mechanical permits.
Okay,
So for air conditioner, furnace, combination, so 96 of them were gas related, replacing like an air condition, an air conditioner, so that's already electric. But so furnace, there's 38 furnace permits and 133 heat pump.
So it's like, well, close to 70% are electric.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's a good, I think this year's data probably even better than also.
Yeah, I
That's
haven't
2024, so.
do the analytics
2025.
on the 2025 yet, but
I mean, that is a good nature. If you compile 2025, that is something concrete that present to the council about effectiveness of the, like, village education. You know, all the educational EV fair, you know,
yeah, they're already being told that that residents are voluntarily doing this.
mm,
So I guess that's why my question was like. Where do we stand on that?
Well, I look at that 38 and say there shouldn't be 38. I think it's where you come from.
So that is.
Yeah,
And, I don't even think that's like, an extreme viewpoint. It's, you know, it's too many. And I assure you, there's people who are not taking permits and who are putting in gas also. So again, there's always questions about how valid that date is, but that's still too many.
Mhm.
And that's a new system that's then gonna live on for another 10.
Gonna live on
years.
20
That's
years, yeah.
that's the,
I think
That's
these
a
are
real
the
lost
communities to
opportunity
council
there.
when we get the chance.
so I don't know, were you going towards that people are doing it voluntarily? Is there something we need to do in addition? Was that the question?
I think the question is just, we need to define what success is.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and
I can
communicate
see that.
it, because there's a lot of people who.
But we define success with the cap. Unless we're gonna change the
So
goal.
the success, the cap is 100%,
It's at 35,000.
yes.
Fine, yes, we're closing it. So,
Was reading something, I don't have it here, but the Silicon Valley Clean Energy has data on how many electric heat pump water heaters were installed and things like that you can also rely on in addition to your building permits.
Mhm.
we can see if Los Altos is doing better or worse compared to.
And they collect that database on the
Yeah.
refunds they give them.
yeah, with the address.
But they just know that electric nods, gas doesn't have good rebates for this.
That's true. Tanya, now, they wouldn't have.
I think the data that I saw from them, and I don't have it here, I think it was probably from their rebates, you know, how many heat pumps were they rebated for.
So there's a more basic data that are available on these actual gas and electricity consumption. So for us, if gas consumption doesn't go down, obviously that's a problem, because obviously that means there is installation replacement, but watching that data is very, very important, because the data we saw is how much CO2 we are releasing in the atmosphere. And those are easily available, because PG&E and they have this data by city. And we can compare year after year, month after month, how what goes. And interesting enough, what I know, that is, there are maybe correlation between temperature and consumption, so we can clean the data from the fact that temperature is different, and so we can really have some solid information about this use of gas going down, because that is the ultimate measure for us of success. We need to get less gas deeper.
And so, you know, I think, again, I can meet Nicole and Tanya, and I think there was some clear feedback from this. And we can try to put together some bullet points that hone this a little bit before your December finalization, if that works for you.
Yeah.
Because Cole and I are working on, so I think that's in our ability to do that without, yeah.
Needs more nuanced discussion, so yeah.
If anybody wants to offer up, you know, a particular appliance type that they think we should focus on, I think that's worth mentioning now before we do that private session.
A particular one, sorry.
If we should focus on HVAC, we should focus on water heaters, that I'm just saying, as just a potential discussion item right now, it's just, is there anything in particular we think could take the focus on next year rather than being broadly? All the things.
I was thinking a heat pump, because, you know, we don't have that really hot weather. I think many people feel, you know, getting an HVAC is a luxury. So I think that heat pump, everyone needs it. We go out.
Heat pump HVAC or heat pump
Heat
water?
pump, heat pump water heater, no.
Water.
What heater?
I think that's.
What the heat pump, what
Yeah,
heater?
water heater, water heater. Oh, yeah, HVAC, yes.
That's what I hear.
But I'm
anecdotally.
trying to say that,
The
you know,
building people.
HVAC is like, some are air conditioning, some are furnace, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of people, they don't bother air conditioning. So,
What I'm,
know if they're gas
what I'm
stoves.
comfortable with is that on this item, I think you get some input from Cole and others. And sit down with the list and go through the cap and see what spills out. And I'm comfortable with you and Tanya determining how best to phrase this for the council. If it's broad or if there's a few specific items.
So Coleman, I'll do ours, and then I think you should suggest everybody send you any thoughts they have.
Right.
And then you can read through it and
Yeah,
give it your best shot. I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll be good.
the more notes, the better. Okay, should we go back to discussion of, synthetic turf, or that discussion? Okay, you had a comment?
So, yeah, so I think the synthetic turf specifically is one thing that maybe if council said we wait till what Sunnyvale comes up with, but we can start the discussion on reduced impermeable surface and that whole point, right? And plug in the Sunnyvale, whatever, learning, when it comes in. Because I think just the synthetic turf is one thing, but I think that bigger thing is something we should focus on overall. Knock off the synthetic turf whenever, you know, we have data, and a bigger piece is something that we should do, because I think there's projects that are happening, lots of asphalt that's been poured out, you know, hardscapes happening, things like that, so.
I'm hearing two possible suggestions out of that. It's either that we would replace this and say that we want our item to be addressing impermeable surfaces, and that ends up being included in this. Or we take the direction of let's do some homework on specifically synthetic turf, and then this is gonna turn into impermeable later in the year. Is there one of those in particular that anyone?
But can it be both? Can't you include just as you have it written? And then, are we allowed to form a working group like tonight for this?
I believe so, yeah.
So, form a working group,
Is
tell
that
them,
part of the agenda, is that?
I think last
So
year,
we can do that as
It's
part of.
part of the, because it's in the, work.
last year we did it as part of the plan, when we
Oh.
started naming people. So, I would say, if they've told us, and we know it's a hot topic, it's come up with
Yeah.
3 times, so, that's the general thing. The first thing might be, hey, start doing some research on turf and give us your initial recommendation by January. That could easily be a working item that we task 2 people with, or 1 person. And then after that, they continue with the permeable surfaces and what else we can do as a policy in the city.
Maybe, that probably makes sense,
Yeah.
unless we're required to wait for Sunnyvale for whatever reason.
I don't think we have to wait. I think that'll be an input, but it won't be the definitive Los Altos answer, I guess.
So based on what you just said, the actual work plan item would just be impermeable surfaces, but we would
The
try.
first
And
item.
part one would be.
Yeah.
Part one would be
Impermeable
reviewing-
surfaces, artificial or
Yeah.
synthetic, or
Yeah,
Natural.
synthetic or natural grass and the benefits or whatever, and number 2 is permeable surfaces, and then.
because the goal says the
that not
thing is,
allowed?
it's to expand green infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
And synthetic surfaces are
Yeah.
are automatically not that, so if we say expand green infrastructure for impermeable surfaces, that means we talk about how we don't support synthetic. And then what are the other impermeable surfaces that we support,
Yeah,
right?
I'm trying to make sure that it's communicable in just
Yeah.
one line.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
where I'm trying, I'm just, if we think that we can do the research on a small deep dive going into January to have something to say about that at the meeting, then this item can just be impermeable, and yes, synthetic is gonna be part of that.
Okay.
So technically, we were following council's direction by doing that due diligence first, but and we're just, yeah, integrating into this item that addresses something that is in the cap.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah. Funny what you can say.
I'm gonna provide a little bit more information on the Sunnyvale study. So basically, what they're doing. They're looking at what's currently out there. They're not doing any extra studies. So it would be double work.
Is it a consultant doing it or, oh, it is?
Yeah, so they're not gonna test stormwater or do site evaluations but they will be doing like outreach and focus group. They're gonna invite environmental groups and sports groups to hear what each side is. Do community meetings and they're gonna do surveys. So I personally think that it's double work, because I've tried to do a bunch of research on this already and it's a lot of different opinions and a lot of solutions that all have different problems in themselves. But if they're already going to do that, do we want to do that?
But didn't the council tell us to do that?
But it was already communicated to council that staff wants to wait for the Sunnyvale study so that we are not doing double work and we can see what is going to come out of that since they've already paid for it.
So the city knew that or didn't know that when they asked us with looking at it?
My guess is that the city council just made that decision before wherever that direction came from, because
That came
it would be
after,
spontaneous.
the direction came after to council, after that meeting.
Yeah.
They discussed it during that meeting,
Yes.
as Sunnyvale was doing this, why
Yeah.
not, wait for that. The direction was not gated by that.
Do we trust those guys from Sunnyvale? I'm just kidding. But I guess if the council says, give us your input, we should give them the input, give them our input as a commission. Even though they're doing a more detailed study,
Which I think they're expecting with the study. Is there, they do
So
want.
depending on the timeline of the Sunnyvale study, that could be just additional information that.
Yeah. I guess
whatever
I don't know the
we
direction
could-
that council gave us.
But she said it's gonna be 6 months, right?
I think they're,
That study because
yeah,
of the-
they're doing outreach and all that, so.
Good year.
So you-
of 6
You
months
want to
to-
provide on behalf of our commission, some.
Well, I thought that's what I thought the council gave us.
But
That's not
sounds
what the
like
council
they may
told us to
not
do.
make decision,
And yeah,
just based upon our recommendation alone.
No.
Sounds like they're gonna
Of course
wait for that study coming out. So we're not going to accelerate any decision. Yeah, we can make a recommendation, but if the expectation is that they can, make some decision on this, synthetic turf things, I don't think they're gonna do that until that study comes out, so. I don't know how much we're gonna gain,
Yeah, I
but-
think it would help for us.
yeah, but we
as a
probably
commission
should
to
make some
incorporate all that,
recommendation.
One at a time,
adding to.
or.
Yeah.
Wait.
No, I'm just saying that we probably should make some recommendation based on our research, no matter what. I think it's a way we address our community residents. We are representing community residents anyway. But
Yeah.
whether it's going to accelerate decision making, probably not.
Yeah, we need to be, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's a good point, but the point is that chances are, if we have our own recommendation based on whatever research we do, and then the Sunnyvale study comes up with similar or different, then the council will kind of want to be choosing if we incorporate the Sunnyvale data, et cetera, and then come up with a decision, then the council will feel like, okay, we as an environmental commission looked at what Sunnyvale, whatever that study came up with, and we've added our own to it, and then they have one thing.
So you're
So
saying,
they're not choosing.
you're saying.
I'm saying do it in parallel. We kind of, just do our own, but don't make recommendations to council until that data is out.
No, I agree with that. I think that if we come with a recommendation and then while Sunnyvale come with a different one, we're gonna be in this odd situation. Both the council and us that if the council is not gonna take our input, that is not good. And that will look good to us and the council, because why we have the environmental commission who their advice is not taken in consideration. And so I believe that, well, I was not the part of the discussion before, but if the council really feel like that they need also the input of Sunnyvale, would be better for us, be part of what they're doing, so we are learning something there that can be used in the future. But not come with a recommendation before that. I agree with that. While I believe that all the issue of impermeable surface is a big one, is a big opportunity for us to make a dent on from a mitigation perspective. That's really a big part. Now, obviously, it's not going to address greenhouse emission immediately, but on the other side, from a mitigation perspective, I think is the biggest part where we can impact the city, make it more green and more permeable. That's my opinion.
I agree with, what Rashina is saying, is if the commission wants to start doing the research or whatever research, right now, and then once incorporating that into the Sunnyvale study into it, and then giving a recommendation at the end of the year. 2026.
And actually, the planning process will verify if that's the right approach. If the commission council wants something earlier, they'll tell us. Or if they don't, they'll let us wait until we have the sign. So
I was gonna say, I feel like because that's the one item that we already have related direction on, that the January meeting could serve as a forum to further education of that.
Yeah.
So we'll more to discuss on that when we get to future agenda items, but just want to put that out there. Going back to just the urban forest ecosystem health plan, since kind of still just want to mention, Trees USA application is in the process. Maybe there's enough. Is there enough?
It's due end of December, right, or?
So December.
Yes.
What we're talking about here?
So, related to the urban forest ecosystem health plan, there is Tree City USA application has been a thing that we've been trying to get done for Los Altos for a while. And so I just wanted to address, we got a public comment about that. I just want to say work is being done toward that end. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, so certainly,
It's December.
okay, great. Yeah, just in the nature of how process we're doing on this, the RFP, we need those partners before we move much further than this. I can certainly put together more presentations if we wanted to talk about some of the principles of ecology in more detail, if that would be helpful, but that's just why that one has a later date on here currently, in terms of the commission's role at this time. Okay, did we have any comments on the research environmental integration successes in other city operations? I don't hear anything, but it sounded like there was support from earlier comments on this research.
yeah, but I was thinking you would just include it in the overall cap review. So you know, here's where we're missing, and here's how other cities are approaching it. You know, kind of integrating with that whole subject matter, because it's really part of your cap evaluation. Am I right? Like, or is it not? Is it totally separate?
It can be totally separate, because if it's purely operations, it's saying like, how is this in the conversations on any given topic? And so by pulling it out, there's more discussion specifically that.
So.
Yep, nope, that was my question, yep.
So a question for you, Tanya, do you know the status of the CAP administrator? Is that, so, I don't know if I shared last time, and this is one of the reasons why I was saying it's not entirely fair to say that staff is, or city is not doing anything. When, I know Fairman retired, they rolled that role in under Nick or then spread it out and created a position for CAP administrator. So that's trying to do things, finding ways to do things.
Which you don't have.
We don't have yet, but it's a start, right? So, so whatever that means is that it's gonna be an additional person to work on that. And that may be, you know, that's 4.6, the incorporate climate action adaptation and all that would be something that's maybe not so much our job once that happens, but maybe it's something that we work with the CAP administrator to make sure it happens. So
Yeah, at this time, it might just lend credence to one, that role
Yeah,
existing,
yeah.
but then also setting the framework for saying, this is what you should expect.
right, exactly.
This is
Yeah.
how things are, so. Yeah. Any comment? Okay. Think we've already,
Actually, do a comment. I
Okay.
think they more see that as like some sort of like the deliverable or tangible aspect to that is like a checklist of some sort for COP projects or procurement or
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
so I don't know if it depends on the position. It's
checklist.
not anything.
right,
I think, we haven't been aiming for, it's just something that hasn't been done.
Yeah.
And that it would
Yeah.
be a very, big lift and shock, and it's a very bold thing,
What is that?
just doing that kind of, that project or having that kind of checklist. It's not something that other cities have been doing. I do know of one city who's trying to do something like that for a CAP. Like some sort of CAP checklist, and it's a very big lift, and so it's not one for a lack of knowledge or staff or any of those things. It's I'm in communication with sustainability staff in all cities. It's just something that is, like I said, bold, different, and not done before, and it would require like research. I think that's what this item's coming on, is on here for, is what would that look like, right? What would that look like for the city to do this?
yeah,
And
and
doing the
hopefully,
research.
hopefully looking at successes to say, here are our recommendations for how you could operationalize these things.
Or yeah, or what it could look like in a different way, or maybe it's
Yeah,
been done in a different way.
Right.
something like that.
So, try to clarify, what you're saying is that, having get the CAP and then, making sure that everyone, every organization, any, partner in the staff, they have a clear checklist of when they're taking a decision, how have a CAP objective in mind, and this being through detailed checklist, this, so that would become really
Yeah.
part of the DNA of the way the city works, okay?
That's how I
That's
see it.
nice, okay,
And
Right.
I think Donnie mentioned this before too,
Yeah.
when they were doing the
Yeah.
cafe
Yeah.
for this community center. Is the cafe going to be follow city policy, zero waste, all that stuff? Like there's a lot of different ways to look at this. And I think it's a big bite to chew, because are we gonna do it with CAP projects, or you can put deconstruction into CAP
Right,
projects?
yeah.
Like there's so many ways you can take it,
Yeah,
and I think
there's
that's,
something
is
being
that where
taken
the
down.
research, yeah, is gonna, is that what you're thinking the research is going to take?
Yes.
I
down that
think
path?
yeah, I think the openness is to say, let's do the research and see where. What makes the best, what the best fit for our recommendations, to what's easy, what's most impactful. Looking at those to figure out the priorities.
feel a concrete, a specific objective might be helpful, it's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, I guess the question is, have we done the research to be able to
Yeah.
define that right
So
now?
the thing is that, that's the objective, so you do the research to get to that objective.
Yeah.
The goal should not be to do the research.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, yeah.
I like the work item, yeah, maybe there's some work on wording that a little bit, but I think it's a good priority, work item.
Can you just elaborate on why you don't think it should be the research? Cause I think we've done that in it with like transportation and deconstruction.
See what? Well, just because, well, I mean, if the goal is, okay, this is the step one, and then the
Mhm.
next step is what do we implement? And that's kind of, phase one, phase two, then it's understood.
Okay.
What do you do with the research once you have it?
Yeah, so that, it
So not
says provided for
basic.
recommendation.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that's okay.
We could phrase this just saying, create a report of recommendations
And it's
based on
given that-
integrity successes, and then we move
Yeah.
research over to the notes.
Yeah.
That's
And that's
fine.
given that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, I think. Okay,
Mhm.
So before we go to the next step, I'm just a little concerned about that. So why do we not have anything on transportation,
well,
which is our biggest
yeah,
challenge?
I think that's, I moved this after the further item to see if, there was, after the shuttle service, to see if there was anything
Mhm.
from that,
Mhm.
it feels like something that the commission should take on.
Mhm.
Something that's still an independent project, not necessarily, but
I mean,
Pretty
there's,
awesome.
last time we had on our list the BB, charging infrastructure. That may be a project to pick up, or maybe, so either within reduce, vehicle miles traveled or electrified transport, which I think we're already doing with electrified. But maybe there is something, one or the other, I think there should be a transportation item, just because I think we're far behind on that one.
Mhm.
More
Yeah,
so than the other, and it's the biggest chunk,
No.
so
I think if you
keep something.
do that, you'll probably have to pull one or two things off.
I think that's the hardest thing, is we have to choose priorities, and this, last year when we had that item, we didn't end up, we didn't have anybody that ended up owning the EV charging, so,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
intentionally pushed it off because they were
Yeah.
a smaller commission.
right. So,
But that, yeah, I don't know if that's the best thing to bring back on, or if it's continue with
no.
some other.
yeah, to say, yes, it definitely felt weird taking it off, but, we have an issue of
But,
yeah, the
No,
bandwidth,
yes.
who's
no,
who's
without
gonna
it,
take it on, but yeah, I mean, we have the benefit of with the electric fare as touching that, so, it's not being completely ignored, but, yeah. I guess if there's a small way that we can do it as independent research, that would be great, but, yeah, I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts on, I guess, how we?
I guess I always, stay away from transportation a little bit because, seems like the city can't impact it much. But that's based on my limited knowledge, really, other than electrification or offer an electric, shuttle or something like that, what can we really do to reduce miles traveled? Yeah,
yeah,
and it
also-
comes to education,
Yeah.
and so,
There's also several things on the cap around that. Keep police for the program, so there's several different things,
Yeah,
that we could look at. Including, the promote work from home policies, which I think we're.
Well, I don't know.
Encourage leave near work incentives. So how do we,
They were housing element.
yeah, so the thing would be as the city's going through the general plan, make sure, maybe that's the action. To input into the general plan, the transportation goals, cap transportation goals. Make sure that that's taken,
Reinforce.
yeah,
Yeah,
so as they're doing, it, they don't ignore the fact that, you
Right.
know, we should be making sure that we're near transit, we're doing
yeah,
all that.
I think that can be separate from a work plan item, it could just be a thing that we, as a commission agreed to keep monitored and.
Isn't the general plan happening this year, or update happening this year?
It's starting, yeah, it's already started. I think it's like a 2-year process.
Right,
Mhm.
so this
I
is the year to
assume
focus on that.
the Engaged
Once it's done.
stakeholders, one of them being commission. It has to also be part of that process.
Would we expect when they get to the transportation section that they would reach out to the commission for input on that?
I don't think it would be transportation, but I think as just a general stakeholder engagement, it should be the
yeah.
commission.
So maybe that's
Yeah.
a separate thing from transportation. That's the
Yeah.
goal, we should actively say that we want to have input on the general plan. Fine.
Yeah, I think communicating to ensure that.
The
Yeah,
cap priorities are incorporated in the general plan.
Yeah.
And then, yes, maybe I'll take a look through it, and if I have some recommendation on transportation, that could be a small project.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
I guess I'm a little unsure how the communication will work for that, just because. There's additional inputs of the people that are updating it, or looking at besides just the old version, right,
So normally with long-term planning, they're gonna look at all the plans, so they're gonna look at the cap, they're gonna look at the master plan, they're gonna look at all of that stuff in the general plan.
Right.
And then they'll engage stakeholders. So they would bring in sustainability and all, whoever touches it to get their input at some point.
so.
For my knowledge,
So it would be good to reiterate, maybe at the joint commission meeting, that sustainability, the cap and sustainability is reviewed and involved in the process.
Tanya, how often is the general plan review? Every 5 years, 2 years, 3 years? There's no rule?
I don't know what the rule is, but it's been like 20 years or something.
Okay,
This is
that's a
big,
very
this is a big
big-
deal, yeah.
It's a big kind of strategic long term, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. This kind of directional more than detailed, it's really the priorities, right?
It's more of like high level policies,
High level policy.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. It sounds like basically we're saying input on general plan would be an item that we would put on. Next to the review cap priorities as just something to mention in that meeting so that they know that we are ready to. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
I think, I don't know, that's what. we should know.
That just came off as separate, but, maybe I don't have it yet, but maybe I'll take a look at that transportation options and some of the things, stuff, research I've been doing. And see if there was something, not a big project, that makes sense to add on, that would be a good next step.
yeah,
I don't know, if you know that too.
okay,
Yeah, I think transportation is more
Right.
difficult just because there is the transportation division and the complete streets master plan, so.
Right.
yeah. That's the hardest thing to remember is that technically we don't own this document, it's the whole city's
Right.
looking after it,
Right.
yeah.
Is, Gary mentioned the cost of his EV charger today. I don't know if we wanna look into incentives for EV charging or anything
That
like
sounds
that.
very high to me.
Yeah, that might be.
You
a
know,
good
and
idea.
what he was talking about is,
Relocating.
in some cases, you have to relocate your electrical panel because they have to have a new code about where your electrical panel and the gas meter can be. Like in my house, they built it right next to each other, so I had a guy come out to add a battery. He's like, well, you're gonna have to spend $10,000 moving your electrical panel or your gas meter. So that's what he ran into, same exact thing. So I think that that might be something good, because I think it's happening to more and more people as they try to electrify the whole homes. This is a weird thing that can derail everything. And that's not the only thing. There's a bunch of corner cases. So maybe we would have a bucket of money for people with extraordinary expenses for electrification that we would support.
And that goes into transportation. For
It can be, but actually it's just
For
electrification, yeah. Because it's not unique to what Gary was doing, it's unique to anybody who's
Yeah,
having a big
when
circuit.
you need to upgrade your panel, obviously, we did the same, in our remodel, we had to move the panel, and this already 7 or 8 years ago was a $5,000
Yeah.
PG&E.
Not only is it expensive, it takes like 6
Yeah,
months.
yeah, it's 6 months and it's $6,000.
It's a real-
And I believe it is $7,000.
So if you're doing it to add, an EV charging capability system, then you're supporting transportation.
Yep.
Switching, so maybe that's the way to see if there is a different bucket to put. that
Yeah, but
already-
sometimes during the electrification, you
Yeah.
need to upgrade
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah, so
and that's not related
Many
to
reasons
transportation.
to have to do that.
And there's the big item usually, further that people find when they go to electrify, they have to do upgrade the panel that is expensive. And sometimes you have to move it, that's even more expensive, so it's really big deal.
It's a big deal, and
It's a
I
big deal.
kind of think PG&E put it in there, to make it a headache to electrify. It's code they came up, or they.
We cannot do anything, but it's just ridiculous, that costs so much, it doesn't. So PG&E should do it a much lower cost than that. I cannot believe that cost them $5,000 to work panel, or 7,000. It's stupid. Anyway,
Another,
That's not a bit of money, my son.
Mm.
Mine is less than 2,000.
Yeah, you probably have to move to a panel, yeah, you don't have to
Yeah,
move your
yeah,
panel.
yeah, it's a way, yeah, I have the easy case. For my heat pump, for my charger.
another idea I've already been looking into, because there's currently grants for multifamily, and I'm not sure that we don't have a lot of data on multifamily EV charging here in Los Altos, and
Not in the beach road?
not for existing.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you do like a major remodel to the parking lot or something like that, but there's a lot of existing multifamily units, and this is something I will likely look into, but there's some funding right now for installation of EV chargers, and that's important, as well. To get adoption for the folks that don't have charging at home.
Is that presently something that you would like?
I'm just putting that out
Yeah.
there. I have to react to what, grants and policies are out there right now, so I hope I can get time to either send out a mailer or do something, to let the multifamily, owners know about it and stuff. Have to figure that out.
Our
Support
support.
for,
Yeah.
we don't have like any funding or anything to do the outreach or the support for that, I know is helpful, but yeah, as of right now, I don't know what that's gonna.
Sounds like there might be a small action again for EV charging. Support EV charging infrastructure at residential and multifamily homes. And that could look like, or a rebate or something from the city to do, to upgrade the panel, or it could be provide information or support grants, et cetera. I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
I think that's a smaller citywide public infrastructure. That would be fine. I can try to word it and send it to you. Put that down.
I guess the question is, what are we going to do?
Priority level 2. So if you have everything at priority level 1, then you need to.
Anything else? I was gonna say, we did have a public comment about expanding vegan availability. Be curious to hear anybody's thought on.
So, sorry, that was, I meant, that reminded me of what I
Okay.
was thinking as to add. Because there have been, a recommendation, of the comment or somewhere about, live green. You know, live electric and then live green, kind of, fair or event or something where we talk about how we can have green lifestyle, which would include, food.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if that's something we might want to consider, explore the possibility of finding some other community organizations to set up maybe another public event that talks more about just non-electric, but
Mhm.
general green living. It could be food habit, which could be, you know,
Right.
community gardens or local, whatever.
Yeah, it could be recycled.
Recycling,
Yeah, could be
don't
whatever,
use,
yeah, yeah.
don't use
So-
pesticides and
Don't use
organic
pesticides,
fertilizers in
yeah.
your lawns, etc. Replace, so all those kind of things, pollinator gardens could be a thing, like a place where people who are interested in that kind of stuff would gather and get knowledge. So I'm wondering if that's something,
It's like another conference, or, I mean, another,
another fair,
No, that's fair.
that's targeted,
We
it
can have
could be
green,
part of the same fair, but maybe this gets.
I think that gets I guess my
Yeah.
own take is, just my take, my opinion, is that we got a lot on our table, and I don't know if that hits the standard. It's not in the cap, I don't think, is it?
Well, it's green community or green, whatever it is.
It's not articulated as narrowly as the electrification fair was, but you can certainly make an argument that
It's certainly a
would
good thing,
address-
I just don't know if we have the bandwidth.
So we don't have to maybe set it up or plan to have one this year, but we can just look into see if
We can
there's
look-
community support to, you know, to sponsor something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a nutrition component to that.
Yeah.
I think it's good that we encourage people to eat more greens, but
It's generally.
we don't want to be the group advocating for vegetarian. Because there's a lot of nutrition, chemistry playing, you need to be very careful when you're a vegetarian, right? People may not understand that, and if we're advocating such a switch without responsibly really ensure the nutritional value, you know, like capturing all 20 essential amino acids in their diet, people may run into issue. Besides, you know, like I'm just hearing her comments. It's general, the whole household across community have that kind of a maybe shift or whatever. I think putting the restaurant menu is a very small bite. I don't think that's going to be very effective. Right? I mean, you see how often people going out to the restaurant. I mean, it's your everyday if you really want to put it into practice. So anyway, that's just my comment about what she is suggesting.
Oh. Yeah, it still isn't a question of.
We don't want to point fingers to anything along lifestyle and say this is.
Yeah,
No,
that's right. Right.
It's just have the options there so people
Right.
can choose.
Right.
Education.
Educational.
no, it's awareness about that the way you eat is impacting the environment, and that's it. Then the decision is up to the individual what to do. And also, it's true that we're not here to push people to be vegetarian or vegetarian.
Well, we're-
But yeah, I think if there's any, like a fair like that, if there is, it is in general about environmental, about the environment, then there could be something like that, education about the impact on.
They could add a boost to the food and wine fair.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, ultimately, the goal is to reduce emissions from the city. We do know that vegan meals do contribute less greenhouse gases inherently, especially compared to beef. And to your point, beans and rice contain all the essential amino acids. See, it's a complete protein source. So, of course, if someone has a dietary issue with those two, then yeah, no problem, but anyway. just wanted to
Polarizing.
Point that out.
Hmm?
Very polarizing. Mm.
No, I was just thinking, trying to think back on the top, is we have, the end section was, you know, what can I do now, sort of the personal things, and I think we even put something like eat greener in that.
Eat greener or eat more,
Yeah, I
you know,
can't
the
remember
farmer's
exactly,
market,
but-
kind of more
but I-
local, locally sourced, organic.
I view that more as a personal
Uh-huh.
action, but you could argue that it's all personal actions, you know. Me choosing the heat pump water heater, it's a personal action. So,
Yeah, the point to me is about this kind of more all-encompassing fair standard notification. What is gonna have the big impact? Are we diluting some of the message if we do something like that, or it's gonna basically multiply the message? Probably it's not a super priority for next year. I think I like the idea that we sponsor something like that. But yeah,
Like
it's,
Alcamera does the workshops, it could be various, I think there's like sustainability workshop series, that's one of the actions, and it's like various sustainability topics for education, but you know, we have the capacity and time, but I agree it would be an educational, like sponsoring some type of education.
It might be as simple, Carl, as like, couldn't we get a booth at the farmer's market and, invite her or some group to come explain the benefits of being
Mhm.
vegetarian?
Yeah, to start, yeah.
So,
Let's put that booth far away from the fish and the.
Yeah. Put it right next to the beef.
Yes. It could be like, you know, one of those special markets.
Yeah.
Go, you know, where it's Go West, whatever, it's a market that occasionally could be one of those. The free market.
Not to add more options here, but there's also been a request, from the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action, which I believe you spoke to, I met, Zakun, the executive director, and then there was an email for, a climate champion award program that they're asking the environmental commission to support, support that project.
For financial support, digital support.
They are proposing a climate champion awards program for Los Altos to promote both youth and adult climate action. And they're asking if the environmental commission would be interested in partnering with them on this project. Let's see, sorry, I don't have the specifics off the top of my head.
I'm gonna bring it up in updates. I don't know that this needs to be more kind, more plan. Could be kind, well, it could be, I don't know.
They don't have a specific ask.
Wasn't it
Well,
something
there
about
would be like
just-
a meeting.
So if there's the city's doing it and sponsoring it, and then maybe on Arbor Day or something, you will watch our given away.
I would have a meeting with them and
It would be-
ask more details and not put it in the work plan until.
Yeah, I mean, they've put out a
That's a
fair amount of
simple thing to
detail.
do, to be honest. Yeah, but
But
isn't that there is already something going on? I mean, Greentown Los Altos does it. I was last year hero, environmental hero, but there's another one that the city or the Chamber of Commerce does.
Most often of the year, no, or the-
I don't know, because I know that there's already awards going on, so just to understand how it can fit into all this stuff. And the idea to do it for her day is a good idea anyway.
Does the city give out awards for things?
I don't think so. I think they're recognized, people and organizations are recognized at city council.
Hmm.
So that could be, discussion.
Need to
But
check.
all of this would require work, like meeting with them, coming up with the ideas. It should be on the work plan if we want to do this.
Yeah, articulation, I thought, I just saw that they wanted possibly judging support on like choosing a based on after the finalists, because there was some bit about doing an interview with finalists. Not necessarily that the commission would be on that, but just that's a potential role, is to have a,
I guess we can assign a liaison.
For
yeah.
the climate champion award program for Los Altos. And the question would be, is that Los Altos, the city council, the official city, or is it some other organization, Los Altos?
What could be also the environmental commission doing it, doesn't have to be the city council.
I think, they're talking about, or would I jump to, is this more significant effort to put a city stamp on it? And there are a lot of organizations like Acterra, like Greentown,
They do it, yeah.
like, what's the other one, Green Foothills, you know, they all have they recognize certain people for their community efforts. And I tend to lean with Tanya here that to develop a program from scratch that has a Los Altos title to it is really difficult. You know, I would encourage this group to work with some of the nonprofit organizations to improve their process or having input on their process rather than developing a totally new process.
Yeah, I don't think that they want us to develop anything. But if the commission is going to be acting in that capacity, I think it does need to be like, go to city council and say, can we do this? Can
Yeah,
we-"
but I don't even think we know the ask, so I think it's hard to put on.
Yeah,
one.
let's-
So,
So I could reach out and,
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we
Or
can.
that's your call. You should reach out, and if it seems really important, good, throw it in there. If not,
That says a lot, aims to encourage environmental action by recognizing individuals and organizations. Other cities do it, such as San Jose and Fremont, so maybe we can look at that.
but the question is just what is.
what are they asking us to run it, or just
Yeah,
we
the
need-
city, you know, kind of like
to implement this?
putting, you know, applying for the Tree City USA program, the city to kind of just have a thing that.
That's a pretty heavy.
We can see what, so I don't think it's something that we need to put on the work plan unless. It may be something that. One of us just looks into and then. We can make a little report to the commission and then that could go to council as a memo if it's. If we agree.
Okay, I'll
And
make
if
it,
we feel we should put it on there to be able to spend any time, whenever we want to put it on there.
I'll make sure to reach out to this group to speak.
Yeah,
Okay,
do you have
clarity.
any thought forward it to?
I would offer to be careful on that.
What?
I would offer to take care and be skeptical because, getting a city recognition is a big effort, you know, in a program. And so,
I just want to confirm what the expectation is and it's to determine whether this is, yeah.
Yeah.
we need to
Okay.
let it first. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, think we can close this item? Is there any last comment?
I guess I'd like to
Okay.
know what is the next steps and what's coming back on this. How are we bringing it back to the commission in January?
Next step is to have this finalized by the next meeting then. Because I think we have time, right, to vote to say, yes, this is the work plan before we meet with city council. Is that correct?
I believe so. Historically, we have
Yeah,
more time.
We'll have a meeting in January.
As long as the council doesn't need before on the podium. But I can't imagine they would.
I think our date of meeting is January 14th.
Yeah,
On
last
next
year
meeting.
the joint commission meeting was in February,
Yeah.
so. Historically, we have had an extra, we have had January. I think last year we even had February meeting.
Yeah.
so everyone send in comments to Tanya on what we've discussed and then, call Tanya and
I think you have a good basis here. I just offer caution in what you add after you get what you add.
Yeah,
I don't think you want to expand it too much. you got a good basis here, you know, tweak it. If there's something important comes up, add it, but be cautious.
I totally agree, I think go with 5 items at the most, and so if you add something, you might wanna pull something out.
Yeah, if we had more formatting flexibility, maybe there'd be a like,
Well, feel free to combine things if it makes sense, but, otherwise, keep it down, keep it to 5-ish, I think. is-
Yeah.
But
all right,
So do we have the permission to add, change? Is there anything that we don't want to take out at all? Obviously, the urban forest master plan and energy. But.
I think
guess
that's up
what
to
is-
you and Carl, and then we can look at it in January and tell you whether we agree or not. Feels like that's up to you guys.
Yeah, I believe that, that's been mentioned, some of those things, yeah, can be folded in other items, so it's maybe some of the things especially small, so that can be just as some for the point of one of the priority without having a priority by itself. But that, yeah, definitely you can do this, no problem. But I agree with Don's recommendation, try to show that it's workable, that it's feasible, that.
Yeah.
We can really work on that, so that's nice, so.
yeah. Okay. Well, with that, I'm gonna close that item. Then. Fine, good. Okay, moving on to, urban forest example of trees and vegetation serving as wildlife protection, wildfire protection. This is the regime.
Can I share? With them?
Mm,
No?
Do you have a PowerPoint?
I have this slideshow, yeah, I sent you a.
Okay.
Or share it too.
Or yeah, I can, I can just, you can share your screen.
That's what I was saying,
Yeah,
share
yeah,
too.
yeah.
I'm trying to look them up.
Yeah.
So I don't have to say next slide. Let me show you.
Yeah, I just did.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I mentioned, a couple months ago that I'd gone over, to, city of Altadena, Southern California, and, kind of just to witness, to see the devastation from the fire, and also there was a news story, that had come up, that I was curious to verify. So I just wanted to share what I found there. It's just sort of, for the record. As you all know, these are all, you've seen these images. These are all images from the city of Altadena, which is north of, Pasadena. Areas where there's major fire, etc. And then I came across this story. I think I shared it with Carl. And I went to look and, I read into it a little bit, and it turns out, actually, anecdote side story, completely unrelated. But Trees of God, the Deodar cedar is what Rashina is in Arabic. So, it's me.
I live on Teodoro.
Huh?
I
Oh,
live
you
on
live on
Teodoro.
Teodoro? Okay, there you
Yes,
go.
my street has a lot of this kind of mention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So just looking, so I did a little bit of a Google map, study, on this street. So this is a snapshot of, Altadena, just before the fire, and you can see that kind of one street. So historically, that street is called Christmas Tree Lane, because it all has all these giant, tall deodar cedar trees. That then they decorate with lights during Christmas and people go there for, it's kind of like a destination to go to during Christmas. So what happened during the fire, this is a snapshot around that time, the whole area was kind of, in smokes. And then, so after the fire, you can see there's large tracts of land on either side of the street. That line of green remains. So. And just a little bit more snapshot there. So that's where I went this on September. We'll just take a look. And these are photos. That's Santa Rosa Avenue is the name of the street. And it's lined with these huge cedar trees, and there's lots of vegetation. And it's not a very upscale neighborhood, just normal kind of neighborhood. And as I drove up the street, it was just nice and green and shaded. Lots of, and not just the cedars, there was several other, plants, shrubs, whatever. It was very lush green, and the houses looked like they were, well lived in and not burned down. And so this is a place where I just stood, and one side, this was the view, and the other side, this was the view. It was, everything had burned down. The only thing standing was that swing set. And literally from the same spot. One side was the side where the trees were, and the other side was. So what kind of, and this is more, just one street over, how everything's burned down. And then there's trees in the horizon. So we've heard a lot of, things that, to protect from fire, we need to have, vegetation away from houses, and, there's talks of, cutting down trees closer to communities, etc. So I was just wondering how does that kind of match up with what we see here? So the trees that survived were not only just the cedars, and actually cedars, when you look at, fire safe trees, it's actually listed as a negative, so it's fire hazard, so I don't know where those lists come from, right? It's maybe a description of the tree and how far it goes, and maybe it's a matter of how well it's watered, and depending on the season, etc. There were a few other trees. There were post live oaks, palms, other conifers that survived that area, the fire there. And the key thing that people said is that one of the things is that these were larger trees that had deep root systems, so they could, collect moisture. They acted as windbreaks because they were tall, and they prevented embers from, crossing over from one section to the other. And then, but it's still, I think it's something that needs to be studied. I was looking at different recommendations for fire resistant trees. There's quite a few. Several lists are available. Many different ones. They're sometimes conflicting. So I think when we do urban forest planning, we should include a plan for using trees and vegetation, but it needs to be, I think, there needs to be more study than just, getting a couple lists and putting that on there. Some lists said, these trees, definitely cedars, don't plant them near, urban areas because they're very far from, or they'll burn. I don't know what causes it to burn or not burn. So that's something I'm not an expert on. And anecdotally, I was speaking, something else I mentioned, I met at a conference, this company that plants trees at scale, planted, I don't know, a few 100 million trees across the world. And they were, I mentioned this to the CEO there and asked him if he'd heard of it. And he said, anecdotally, and this is from Canada, in Canada, the natives had these cedar fire blocks that were planted along forests, and he didn't know much about it. But he said he'd heard about it, that this is a thing, that certain kinds of trees would be planted to kind of prevent fires from spreading across areas. So just something to consider. I thought it was interesting. I wanna, because as we're building our urban forest master plan and there is all this concern about fires, wildfires, other fires. And the chatter about trees being dangerous to houses. It's things that we, so then people may start cutting down trees that are closer to their houses. I don't know if it's good or bad. Maybe it's a matter of making sure those trees are healthy. And maybe it's a matter of assigning a budget where we make sure the trees are watered or as a way to protect from fire. So there's different things to consider. I just wanted to share that. Well,
Thank you.
Formality clarifying questions? Okay, no, I don't think they, is there any public comment on this? Unless,
Oh, I'll make a public
you wanna make one? You go.
Thank you for doing that. I mean, it's really, that's exactly the kind of thinking that people need to do about how to integrate trees and really understand their value and benefit on many levels. We've spent a lot of time trying to look at like why they're not working versus what they're doing for them. I think any kind of education that we can do for the public on what the benefits are, and particularly what I've seen planted, I was down in Pasadena, looking at some similar things, and that's the planting and groves, that grove aspect, and how they all work together. There's a really interesting dynamic, not just for energy savings, but also for protecting with fire breaks and stuff like that. So thank you for doing that, and I think that it does spur a great conversation. I have one comment on the Tree City thing that I can mention. They asked for a tree care program, not tree protection. And how do you put that on your agenda for a, if you're gonna really look at the whole of the program, that's just something to think about. Maybe it's a more programmatic thing than it is just sort of doing it as an application. There's a thought.
So the
Thanks
city,
for letting me speak.
I don't know, we're not supposed to answer, but
That's
as a
definitely not
discussion
there,
point.
and we're talking about.
Yeah. I forgot to mention one thing, so I'm gonna share it again. There you go. Right there, you see, Tree City USA sign. I thought that was kind of
Mhm.
fun to have that. I didn't know, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Again, I'll open up us with comment. Might have mentioned this before, but when I attended the Santa Clara Urban Forest, I don't know what that event was called. They had a talk basically where they talked about the plan that they're developing. And one of the urban foresters or arborists mentioned that fences are a much greater fire spread risk, wooden fences. And so, in parallel of trees having this capacity to protect, the same thing you could say is hedgerows can act as an alternative to prevent that potential fire spread that fences would do. So I think I'm hopeful that the urban forest ecosystem health plan would look at all of this and figure out an integrated way to do it. Cool. Sounds like that's it. All right. 2026 commission meeting dates. I believe this is on his item.
Yeah, so we usually do this in November, just to make sure, we have our yearly dates planned out. Two things we need to discuss is for the January 14th meeting, we'll need to create the agenda earlier because I will be out of town. And so I will need to post the agenda earlier or, give it to someone to post. But it basically needs to be ready, which is why we were saying earlier, that, we need those documents earlier. So the date that we would need to finalize the agenda and get all the documents would be, and I can follow up with an email on this, but we're looking at, December. December. 19.
Is that the one discussion or is that, I think, say the second thing?
Oh, yeah, and so that's the first, note, and then November 11th is a holiday. So, it's Veterans Day. So we would need to cancel and then do a special meeting. If we wanna keep that, meeting for November.
Yeah.
So,
Should we do that now?
yeah, the dates that we can, change it to are either 11 for 11/18. I think 11/18 is the better date, because it's the following week.
And technically, oh. Sorry, this is I'm starting the discussion, like, is there, do we
Yeah,
get,
any
we get
questions?
clarifying questions? No? Okay, I guess I'll just say, yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable to move it a week, considering we're gonna have a break, so it's not like we're gonna have two meetings too close, so.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine.
Everyone agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that will be a special meeting, so some of the rules are different. I think we can't do public comment on items not on the agenda. So there's a little different rules, just FYI. On that.
Interesting.
Mhm.
And then the first one is, was it just a discussion to say, yes, we're good with December 19th as having, getting everything to you?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments?
Push that, is December 19th your publication date or when you need the date about?
Oh, I need everything by that day.
Okay, so do you have, that will give you enough time to publish it? If you had all the data on the
Yes.
19th, it'll give you
Yeah.
enough time to publish it before you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll publish it or I'll upload everything into the system so someone can just go and press publish. But just because it's just me, it makes it a little more complicated. So, that is why I have to do it.
Complete. Seems like we're all good with that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we have
Okay.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, and so then we can close that out, it sounds like. Commissioners' reports. Do you have an order on,
We usually do roundtable updates on any project items that are just updates. And then we talk about council meetings.
Right.
So, in this portion, we can't, do any discussion, and the simple clarifying questions are okay.
Mhm.
Very simple. Is what I've been told.
those,
So we can-
So on the electrification subcommittee, so Coleman and I were working on electrification, suggesting some policies. One was something we call the VAR bonus. That was basically enabling people who go all electric on their remodels or new builds would get slightly more space for their house. And we voted that and we accepted it. We sent it to staff. And they came back with a number of objections, which I understand their objections, but they're, I think something that Coleman and I believe all you would also object to. So you would counter object to those. And so, essentially the planning, we had asked for a meeting with planning, but staff came back and said, we don't support this effectively for these reasons. They don't understand everything we've talked about. So, we have asked I believe the next options are for us to just request a city council meeting, which we might do, Coleman and I might do that. Or we may ask for a joint meeting with planning anyway, despite the staff objections, which they can voice at the meeting if they want. So I think we're just trying to work with Tanya on what the next steps are.
Would any of that require a vote of the commission to
I don't-
do this?
No, because when we voted,
We said you have.
you have the purview to do
Yeah.
what you need to do.
But the working pair can, if they feel like that
Oh, yeah,
is,
if we need, if
if you feel that you want to weigh in on that.
and so if yeah, that may be worth bringing that up as putting that on the agenda in January in case it gets sideways or something, but right now we're doing exactly what we talked about, we approved.
Any other updates?
I met with, somebody, at conference again, from a company called, Carbon Better. And sometime this year, we had, a directive from council to look into, potentially, carbon offsets. Because we were behind on the cap, I think, in November. Somebody can come over and give an overall,
We still have some.
especially against someone. So this is a similar company and, they do consulting and then they do offer, offsets. So one of the things they said is they can do help with greenhouse gas, estimations, which I think we had trouble with last time. We're looking into that and think we might, get a consultant to do it. And then they offered a bunch of different types of greenhouse gas. Carbon offsets in areas of energy efficiency, natural gas, waste, methane capture, forestry, and, like I said, advanced refrigeration or, HFC gases, capture. And some well capping. So there's a few options that, just based on their research report, Los Altos was one of their big options. So I'm just saying that, this is a potential company to either come and chat with us or to keep on the list if we look into either doing the greenhouse gas. Emission, characterization for if we want to do carbon offsets. I'll forward you links.
Maybe project updates,
Something like it. So
or
then,
any other points of non-project updates that commissioners find interesting, worth mentioning.
Just for future, the rain garden, I got interested in that one, but I need to do more. I think maybe we can invite a Valley Water representative to give us a talk about that, the design. I think it's part of the water conservation. There was a webinar, maybe Tanya passed on to us a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I checked into their webinar. I think it's very useful, and I feel like even myself, I feel I could do that. I could design a garden company, especially winter time. It basically capture all the rainwater in a way that they kind of develop a system that you can keep those water underneath. It's not a physical barrel, but yeah.
We can vote on that with the potential agenda.
Just kind of learn a little bit more, technical side of it and how that works and
we go
how
to
it helps.
reports from city council meetings, right?
So I was responsible for October 28th. I think the main area that we got our environmental is they passed 14 of the electrification building code that they adopted. And, yeah, I think the rest of the meeting has to do with the commerce contract, so, yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Was that the dog park one or no?
No, not
Oh,
that, not shooting, they didn't follow the dog properly. Maybe it's the meeting
Okay.
prior to
14 is
later.
the one of the first reading of the reach code.
Yeah. That's the reach code.
Okay. And then, was that the only one?
October 14th, and then we went to
Mine is 28.
20.
October 14th was,
Was the reach code's first reading and the artificial turf.
yeah,
I don't know if this is, related to commissioners or staff, but, I think a few of us attended the Actera webinar or, video conference on it. I was just wondering to get an update on that. I was interested in how many people actually signed into it, and if you have data on it. Were we successful? Did we draw anybody, or was it, preaching to the choir of, there were just a few there? But I don't know if that's under the commissioner's reports or staff reports, so I can defer it to either.
I think there's gonna be a formal report on that in the future, but I can anecdotally talk about it in the staff
Okay.
update portion.
So. Have we covered all the council meetings since our last meeting, or we just wanted to describe one?
Was there one on the 4th? No, there was. The next one is the 18th.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, yes, we have covered. The
Okay.
next one is the 18th, which is.
I know mine's coming. So.
That's you. And then December 2nd, Commissioner Whedon. And December 9th is TBD, so.
You
Commissioner
got it.
Julie. will be
Okay.
able to take that,
I will,
Okay.
okay, December 9, huh?
yeah,
Okay.
assuming it's not canceled, but I don't think we should. do that.
All right, then with that, with the staff updates,
Yes. We don't have a presentation or anything, but, yes, we hosted the first webinar from Proterra, which is Electrification 101. There was about 30 participants. I think they said, 80 people signed up and 30 people attended, and they say that's about average and is, a good participation rate based on what they've done historically. Other than that, I don't have any like report, they haven't sent us the report or anything like that. But the next one is gonna be in person, for induction cooktops. So getting people to come in person is even harder. So I think we'll need, more of an effort to try to get people to go. Especially since I think induction cooktops were not included in all the reach codes, so, there are a lot of gas cooktops out there, so. Education's, I think, the way to go on there. We might be having a little giveaway at that one. But I'll provide more of an update once we get closer to that,
when is that?
February.
Will you be inviting the famous chef to demo?
TBD, we'll see what Actera's
That
gonna
would
come
be a
up
big
with.
So then some
Famous is that.
Done.
I don't know if that was in the budget.
And then do they, videotape it and can we?
Yeah.
We'll link to it on the website or something?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
it's on their YouTube channel and then, once they put it up there, I'll link it to our website and do all that fun stuff. I think I'll probably create like a page or something for that. Other than that, yes, the reach code's passed. The incentive program is, we'll be presenting to council, I'll be presenting that to council December 2nd. Or sorry, December 9th. There is no, it looks like there is no December 2nd meeting. As of if this is up to date. So maybe you're off the hook.
So,
I think Don's off the hook.
Oh, yeah, you're off.
On December 9th.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
You're skipping Dawn then?
Alright, if, I
Okay.
can switch to the 9th if you wish.
I'm trying to go to.
Okay. So, yeah, there's no December 9th one, so I'm not sure why. But December 2nd, sorry. Thank you. So on December 9th, I'll be taking that to them to just kind of give them, it's just an update. This is what we're doing, so they know we're making progress on that and something to kind of celebrate. And unless and they're gonna approve it and say yes, basically, we approve this, but unless they say otherwise, the plan is for SVC to administer that, and it wouldn't come online till likely March, because that's SVC's timeline, which will be good timing with the new local amendments, reach codes. So it'll focus on heat pumps and so HVAC heat pumps and heat pump water heaters. And that was direction from the working pair. And we're looking at $1,000 extra. So the way it'll work is residents can apply for a rebate through SVCE and they'll be able to get both the SVCE and the city rebate at the same time. And once we see how that's gonna go, come back to, I guess, the working pair or the commission to kind of assess if we want to go back to council and ask for more funding. Some other city projects, municipal operation projects is we got funding, we got the 350K general funding to spend on EV chargers at the city facility where we keep our vehicles. And that has been an ongoing project for a while, as we know. The next steps is for us to go out to bid to do the installation of those chargers, and then PG&E will come in and install a new service for that. So that's a CIP project that's in the books that we actually got funding for, so that was a good win. And we are also requesting, we're also looking into a CIP project for solar and battery on Grant Park, which is something we requested in a grant last year from SVCE that we didn't get. But there might be funding where we can do that. And then they're also installing chargers at Grant Park. The foodware ordinance, the upcoming reusable requirement is coming up in December. So we're just letting businesses know of that. That is going to still be on a complaint basis, and where businesses can come to staff and kind of ask questions, and we'll work with them on any of that. What else do we got going on?
So on the new food, single plastics, was there a timeline for implementing different things? Or is it 100% implemented?
There was a timeline for some of the requirements to take place. Yeah. So first it was the fiberware requirements for to go, which is June. I can't remember the exact date, but that was in June. And then coming up in December, I think it's December 10th, is the reusables requirement for dine-in.
Okay, so for takeout, that's the only thing that we know?
The takeout requirements are already like enforceable. Yeah, we gave the businesses 6 months to prepare for the reusables, because that's a little bit more expensive. Questions so far?
I have one, recently I've been reading about some, plug-in solar. Is that something that the city has been considering as to if they're gonna, regulate that or not? Or how, what type of stance they would take on, these are for like, if you're in an apartment building, you can buy a solar panel and basically drape it over your balcony and plug it into an outlet. And they're out there now, and they're being used on a basis, and supposedly they fit within the requirements of PG&E for, you don't have to permit them because they don't backfeed into the system. And there's two types. There's a type that just plugs in, and there's another type that you can run a dedicated circuit and plug it in. And you can get panels with, and you can get the panels with a battery backup.
That's not something that's.
It may be a question that comes up in the future because they're out there for sale now. You can get them. I can send you the link if you want to look at and buy one.
But is there, if there's no code issue, why would the city get involved?
Well, I don't know, maybe not.
Or, I mean, maybe there is a code issue, or maybe we wouldn't need to.
Supposedly they're designed to be under the regulations, but each city may have its own restrictions. For example, if you need a dedicated circuit, obviously you should be getting a permit that you have a dedicated
It sounds
circuit.
like
So,
a potential agenda item if the commission wants to discuss or make a recommendation
okay,
to council.
I was just curious
Yeah, no.
if the city's been,
That hasn't been on my radar, and it wouldn't, I guess it wouldn't come to buildings radar unless there's a code issue, I think. But, yeah, if you want to send me.
I'll send you the link and then you can decide what you want, how you want to do it. But basically, it's a plug-in solar type system.
Okay.
Moving on, potential future agenda items then, and,
Yes.
I guess we already have the work plan finalization as an item, or do we anticipate that?
No,
Okay,
but I think if we could start building the next meeting's agenda, so that would be one of them.
Yeah. The other thing that I would like to add, if it's a future agenda item, is I would like to find a subject expert on native grasses to start to lay a foundation for our discussion. Not a foundation necessarily, but just, I think it's an aspect of the discussion that is, not robust right now. So I think it would be good to, if I can find somebody to help guide us a little bit on that.
Okay, so we have a rain garden presentation from Valley Water, a presentation on native grasses.
We should put a holding spot for electrification in January. And we may not use it, but it easily requires some discussion. Maybe not, but that's what we're operating on.
Or transportation and deconstruction.
So please let me know,
Item 19.
that's when I need documents, so let me know as soon as possible, because we're gonna set the agenda. I think we said the week before that, the Thursday before that. So please let me know, by the 17th. I'm sorry, the 9th of December. So I'll send an email out.
We get a heads up so that we know to plan around it and.
And generally, that's how we should be doing this every month is I should be getting a notification from the commissioner who's heading the project on whether or not it's gonna come it's gonna be on there before the chair and I meet. So I would like to, stick to that going forward in 2026. And so we will be meeting a week before the agenda has to be posted.
Would you send an email reminding me?
I can
that.
put a calendar update. It's a calendar, recurring calendar invite. But to send an email every single time, I think I'm just gonna do a calendar invite.
Anything else to add for January?
Any new item? Other new item?
Should we be, or is that part of the work plan? Looking at subcommittee formations,
That's what we usually do with the work plan.
don't we need to say that we might be forming a subcommittee on this topic? Isn't that something that needs to be agendized?
I think I usually just add it like as part of the description for the work plan. For
Okay, so you will say, yeah.
And I feel we would want council direction first before establishing those.
Last year, we signed it before.
we just I don't think we need to have it decided.
You'll lose a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to it doesn't need to be decided at the joint commission meeting. It just. What needs to be decided is there gonna be a working group or is there gonna be a subcommittee? A formal subcommittee.
What is the difference?
$1 million question.
It changes every month.
Changes where you try.
The ad hoc subcommittee is a little bit more formal. And the working group is a little more fluid.
Okay. Enough for me.
Okay, so it'd be fine at that meeting for us to establish those if we see fit.
Yes.
We had
And I'll
talked
do
earlier
a-
this meeting about the possibility of going ahead and doing that. So it still feels like it feels worthy to make it its own item potentially, just so that we have the actual block to discuss it. I don't know. It feels similar.
But I think you could just put it like this finalized working plan and working groups.
Okay, so yeah, as long as we have it on the title, then it feels,
Feels legal.
Yeah.
yeah. We've given notice that that's being discussed.
Yeah, and then every January I have to do like the commission updates as well, so that will be on the agenda. Which has all the rules and handbook stuff.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a pretty full meeting.
Yeah, I would take off in counseling ahead of time for deconstruction.
That's part of the business.
They
Okay.
just look at my dates. You're on December.
Anything else?
Okay, is everyone in favor of the new agenda items? Please just raise your hand. Rain garden, presentation and native grasses.
Those are
Okay.
two separate things?
Two separate
Yeah.
new agenda,
Yeah,
okay.
potential agenda items. Okay. And you can always send me, agenda items you'd like to see on the meetings, like via email, and then I'll just bring them up at the next commission meeting.
Right.
So if you send one to me tomorrow, it'll come up in the next
Okay.
commission meeting,
As a potential item.
as a potential item that everyone votes on. Okay.
Okay, with that, this meeting is adjourned.
Excellent.
Last meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
8:44.
Oh.